that helped prepare me for high school. But what they don't tell you in high school is that it becomes a passing game. And I won't speak too much about. There's nothing on.
It's for the video.
The video. Sorry, one of the things that you're learning is that it becomes a passing grade, and I won't speak too much about that because I know that one of our student presenters is going to talk a little bit more about that. But I'm a visual learner. I like to learn by seeing things, touching things. I like to have examples, pictures, videos. And I'm taking construction here, which is hands-on, very hands-on. So I'm always working with my hands. And I love it because you get to see the project in manifestation as you go, right? But the thing is, with schools and school systems, I think that happens is that teachers will cater to one type of learning. They won't cater to all. And when they try to cater to more, it becomes overwhelming. My teacher will tell me that listen and take notes. But we all know that it is not possible. It's inhumanly possible to multitask. So to ask me to take notes and to hear, which are two different types of, learning, that's impossible for me to do. So you then have unfilled notes. And then your teacher then will have you take a test, which is another way of just tracking your learning. But not all of us are good test takers. Not all of us are good people. You get nervous, you get anxious while taking the type of tests. So then it doesn't show you what is the truth of your learning experience because it starts with the teachers. So one of my things that I want to see our school system do, and it's possible, it's very possible, and I don't think it's as hard as it's made to seem, is changing the way that I am taught, changing the way that I learn, and making it so that I'm open to other learning, but it's individual. A lot of things can be used as cooperation. A lot of teachers will have you teach, or they'll teach you where you need to learn in a group. And groups are great because you learn different perspectives. You can learn more just by hearing somebody say something to you that is not your own idea. And while that is great, sometimes you lose the individuality of it because not all people work great in a group. Some people work great independently. So it's catering to those different types of ways of learning that we need to change. And like I said, it's not impossible. And it does take our student voice. I'm not going to sit here and, not say that it's not important for us as students to also do the work. But it's also important that adults and students meet in the middle. And so that is one thing that I want to push for. And so, yeah. I'm sorry, I have to take off, but thank you.
Can I set this here? Okay. My name's Deasia. I am a junior here at Benson. And according to the district, my education was worth $169,000. Yeah. So each student every year is worth $13,000 according to the district, and I've been in school for 13 years, including kindergarten and pre-K. So, yeah. When I was in middle school, I used to think school was easy. I never studied, ever, but I got high scores on everything. And the only time I failed a test was when I didn't put in effort. So, yeah. And when I think about it generally, like my middle school experience, it was good from, I guess, a youth point of view because it wasn't hard. I wasn't challenged very often. There was no stress, little to no stress, because it was so easy, right? But I get into high school, and I remember the first time I started thinking, really thinking about my middle school experience, I was in my English class, right? And they handed us this worksheet, and there was all these terms, and I was like, okay, what is this? And the teacher was like, you guys should have learned this last year. And I was like, I didn't. So, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this now. And she was like, oh, well, you should have learned it. And then that was that. Like, I should have learned it, didn't learn it. Now I have to do it myself because that's not what we're learning in class. So, yeah, so basically, like, I was just unprepared for high school. I thought I was, but I really wasn't. I didn't really have any study skills. I knew that you needed to study for tests, but because I never studied, I was like, oh, I don't need to study. But, yeah, I had to work 10 times harder to get the grades that my peers were getting because they had knowledge that I didn't. My middle school experience wasn't all bad. I did have a few teachers that taught me like life skills and school skills, but the majority of my teachers were not very good, honestly. And one year, we started out the year with a sub for, I want to say it was math, but I don't remember what it is exactly because I don't even know what we learned in that class. But we had a sub throughout the entire first half of the year. And the second half, I don't even think she was a teacher because I'd seen her around the building before and she was administrative. But she took over the class and she tried to teach us, but like, because we haven't been learning all year, nobody wanted to learn. It was just like a kind of kick it class. So like we still didn't learn. So yeah, I just want to see, what I want to see in a school system is teachers that actually teach. Like, because now that I'm in high school, I still have teachers that don't teach. So it's like I'm going to these classes, I'm doing all this work, and I'm not getting anything out of it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Hi, my name is Reba. I'm a freshman at Benson, and yeah. So far, my education from kindergarten till now is about 130,000, 140,000. For most of my elementary and middle school years, I attended a Seventh-day Adventist private school, also known as Portland Adventist Elementary School. Coming to Benson, this is my first experience in public school. And in the private school system, they really make sure you're prepared mentally. They offered yearly tests and exams to test your knowledge, the learning and experience in mastering a musical instrument, and advanced studies. Now, for most of my years, I was the only black student in my class. Overall, it wasn't diverse. It lacked something Benson doesn't. I was surrounded, in my opinion, around students who had the benefits and the financial resources to attend and afford private education in private school. But at Benson, you have students that come from all around that may not have the benefits or the financial resources to attend and afford private school. It kind of goes, since it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, it kind of goes back to the white flight from back in the day versus today. The white flight back in the day was when usually white families would move to the suburbs. They would leave their school districts because of blacks coming into theirs. It's kind of like today also, how you see a lot of families leaving public schools and entering into private schools. And yeah. So, wait, hold on. Unequal, like I said previous, unequal access equals unequal schools. The public school system and the private school system are two different educational systems. You have different experienced teachers. You have different technology usage. You have different
Good afternoon. My name is Kalandra Anderson. I attend Benton High School. I am currently a senior. So far, my education has been worth $182,000. I'd like to reiterate that that's $13,000 annually, and I've been in school for 14 years. I'd like to speak to the fact that not only have I been in school for 14 years, which feels like the longest years of my life, being granted I've only been alive an additional 2 years after that, I feel it is unfair. I feel that it is unfair that the things I'm being tested on don't reflect the things that I've learned to do my entire life. My entire life, I have dominated and excavated my way through white-dominated spaces. I've learned to pivot and turn to face and shape the way that I think to respect someone else's mind. But there's no test for code switching. There is no test for biting my tongue. There is no test for the poverty that I've experienced generationally. There is no test for the educational gap that my parents have had to face. There is no test for that. But when I come into your classroom, and the only thing and the first thing you say is not a good morning or hello, but it's you're late. I'm late to my future. I'm late to my destiny. Something that you are paid to do, I'm late to. Good morning. How are you doing? How's your day? Are you tired after working 9-hour shifts? Paying for an education that isn't even worth your time? Paying for senior dues that you can't afford but you keep doing it? Paying for 2 sports that are distractions because the only thing you know how to do is run? Good morning. What I'd like to say to you is that if you heard what I had to say now, would you have still taught me the same way? Would you have still taught me the same way in 2nd grade when I was learning my ABCs but not in time? When I spelled my name but it was backwards? Would you have still taught me the same way when I asked you why the only thing I've learned about my black culture are slave hymns and underground railroads, but not about artists, the poets, and the singers that are about us? Would you have taught me the same way? Because what I have to say now is covered in deep hatred and sadness that I've wasted my life. And I'm about to go into a college full of people who still don't look like me because I want to be educated locally, and we know what Portland looked like. Would you still taught me the same way, knowing that I don't know how to name all of our presidents or all of our states? Next to us, I don't know, Nevada? Maybe. I don't know what north, south, west, and east looks like or where my house is facing. Would you have still taught me the same way? What I asked you is, how am I supposed to succeed? How am I supposed to do my job when I'm begging you to do yours? That way. That way? There was no that. Oh. Why you look next to you like you went right? She said. I thought you was still sitting there. She don't want to go in.
Well, there ain't nobody else who's going.
She had a whole picture on the page. Look at her phone. What is that? Then you go. There we go. There we go.
Hi, I'm Nima and I'm in the 4th grade. I'm currently the president of the 4th grade. My goal is to be president for each grade, earn straight A's, and attend college to become a lawyer. The things that I learn in class are sometimes easy. For more than 1 week, I sometimes have the same learning targets, meaning I am learning the same thing for more than 1 week. I have been tracking my learning targets for a while now. In order for me to become a lawyer, I need to learn new things. However, I did not pass the state reading test. Did you know that only 2 students in my grade did? One of my experiences in class is that if someone in class is being very disruptive, some teachers will call down to the office, and that takes away from my learning time. Another experience of mine is that when most of the class is not listening and a few students are listening, some teachers let us do what we were going to do, for example, go to recess. Some of my classmates have very bad behavior, and some teachers are very bad at controlling the class. For example, one time we had a sub named Miss Stovall, and she can control the class better than some regular teachers. Those are just some things that has been happening in my classroom. When this is happening, the learning is not taking place, and it is not properly preparing me to become a lawyer. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Makaira, and I'm junior, and I'm worth around $169,000. But when I didn't really do good in middle school. I mean, 8th grade, I started doing okay because they said that my 8th grade teacher said you can only get into Benton if you get straight A's. I didn't get straight A's. I still got A's, B's, and C's. But they said, yeah, we are preparing you for high school. But what I'm learning in high school, I never learned in middle school. Like, I had to relearn math. because math was different. I had to retake advanced algebra because I didn't know how to do it in middle school. And like last year for math, we had two different teachers. There was this one teacher, she didn't really know how to speak English, but she taught us. But like since she didn't know how to speak English, we didn't understand her. We would always leave her class because like we didn't know what else to do. And she would put the key on the board like for homework. And then one time in class, this student was passing around his homework, and the teacher was like, "Okay, I'll mark you because you have somebody else's homework," even though it wasn't their homework. And like we would just get away with doing that, even though math is one of my favorite subjects, and even though we wanted to learn, we just had to pass because she would always put the key up on the board. We didn't really have to study. Even with the test, she would put the test on her desk. Students would take pictures of it, but she didn't really care. And we found out that she was like kids were paying her to get an A, and then she eventually got fired. But she said that's not the reason why she was getting fired, even though she had told us before. But she said that she wasn't allowed to tell us that's why she was getting fired. And then the second semester, it was a whole new teacher. We didn't know anything, and he just started us off with what we're already supposed to be learning. And now we don't know the subject because at the beginning of the class, she would just give us the answers, mark our homework, even if we didn't do anything. And now we're in second semester math, and it's really hard for us to learn. And now we are just trying to get by. We're still using photo math because we don't know how to learn the math, and it's like really frustrating to learn. And my English teacher this year, like she gives us stuff to do, but like we end up waiting till the last minute to do it because she grades really late and she doesn't mark it down if it's late. But also most of us are failing her class because she grades stuff late, and like she tells us she's gonna grade something to get our grade up, but she never ends up grading it. So like we're just sitting here waiting and waiting to get graded, and then she waits until the end of the quarter when we know what we're missing, and like we're confused because she said that if we want to get what we're missing, we have to ask another student. And if you're not friends with anybody in that class, she said you have to make friends. But like what if you don't, like what if nobody really likes you in that class? She said you still have to make friends. And yeah, you can't like really ask for late work. She'll allow it, but she's like weird about it. She'll just be like, "Oh yeah, here we go. This is what we did last class," but not really like saying, "Oh yeah, here you go. Here's what we did last class." Like being excited about it. And it makes us not want to learn. Like most of the people don't even go to her class no more because they know that they can just get the work later when she says, "Oh, this is the last day to do it," like 2 months later. And yeah, that's it. Sorry, it's kind of boring.
Anybody else? No? You sure? Positive. Okay.
I know you have one story.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're gonna do, so we heard like 3 different like major issues. We talked about, I heard something in relation to changing the actual school system, and like for example, graduation requirements. It was a question earlier about why don't people fight for freedom? I think the reason why, there's a quote by Harriet Tubman. It said that she freed over 1,000 slaves, and that she could have freed 1,000 more if what?
If they wanted to be free.
If they would have known, right? So what's happening is that we don't have knowledge of how the system operates. So that's the point of Student with Purpose, is to teach young people how the system actually operates, right? So, for example, if we want to change the system in graduation requirements, We need to empower the young people to let them know, okay, that is a statewide issue. We can go to the state school board, we can talk to the governor, just the deputy superintendent, and we begin to have those conversations, and they can vote to bring change with the graduation requirements, right? That's a change that we can actually do. Now, I heard an issue about work versus learning. They get a lot of work, but learning is not taking place, okay? That to me is a district-wide, maybe a school issue that we can address. Then I also heard some activating like student voice within the classroom. I heard that earlier. That is something that is school-wide and district-wide that we can address. So we have to teach the young people systematically of how to address certain issues. So that's what you guys are going to do, the adults. Now what we're going to do is we're going to break into 3 groups. Now, we're going to have a group over here which is going to deal with the actual school system structure. What are some things that we can do? What are some things that we can begin to mobilize and organize to change? Over here, we're going to have a section called work versus learning. What can we do to change the way teachers teach, right? So what I heard is that some students have different learning styles, learning how they comprehend information. How do we empower teachers and provide the training that teachers need to be able to meet all those different types of learning styles? That is something that is on a school district and school-wide level. Over here, we're going to talk about how to activate student voice within the classroom. That is something, how do we access, so basically we're power mapping, right? So who are some people that we actually can contact to bring about the changes that they want? Not just talk about it, but let's power map to see who are the people in position of power, and let's begin to have those type of conversations. You guys following me? All right, so now, you guys, who has the school system structure? Who is facilitating that? Out of there, who is that? All right, so you guys are gonna go over here to that corner. Who wants to organize